Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome on in to Watch Me Wednesday. It's been a long time, no see, right? I have been busy. As you saw, I had posted a little video. So much going on in my life, and I'm glad to be back today. I have some really cool things I want to share with you about thread. A lot of you may not know, but I am an aurifil designer. I do curate collections for them based on mostly my fabric collections. And I also am an auriphilosopher as well. So I have lots and lots of information to show you, and I hope that you're interested because I'm going to talk about the different weights of thread. I'm going to talk about what needles you can use with the threads. I'm also going to talk about how you can use the threads. So lots and lots of things to share with you today. And I hope you'll share this video with your friends. Let them know that I'm doing a presentation right now. And then if you don't share it now, if you would share it afterwards, that would be awesome. If you jump in or jump off at a certain time, you can always catch the replay. I will be reposting it to my YouTube channel, so you can always catch it there. And it also still lives on my Facebook page as well. So I would like to get started. How many of you are interested in all the different kinds of threads? I have so many things to show you here today. So give me a thumbs up or a heart or something to let me know that you are interested in what we can do with the threads and how to properly use them. And then we're going to get started. So awesome. Awesome. And I see a lot of people coming in. Welcome, welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you all here. I hope you've been doing well. Okay, so first I'm going to put up a slide here. My first slide is, of course, of some aurifil thread. And yes, they're going to cover me, and I hope that's okay with you. And also, I should say, make sure that you... Here, I'm going to uncover me for a second. Make sure that you hold your questions till the end or type them in, and I will answer any questions at the end. So with that, let's get started. So here I've got some great little graphics and PDFs to show you. So I'm going to put them up here so that you can see. And if you want to take screenshots, you are more than welcome to do so. Hi, Joan. Aloha. How are you? I'm heading back your way in June. I can't wait to go back to Hawaii. Anyway, so aurifil, if you're not familiar with aurifil, that's the brand that I primarily use because it is a fabulous thread. They have lots and lots of colors, lots and lots of weights, pretty much for anything that you want to do, quilting and or otherwise. And as you can see in this first slide, it says that the versatility and strength, the colors, and the fact that it produces virtually no lint is a reason aurifil threads have achieved worldwide success, adored by a dedicated tribe of quilters, sewists, and textile artists, which is so true. Anywhere that you go on the internet, you'll see a lot of people using aurifil thread and many different weights for many different applications. So that's where we're going to get started. Let me throw up my next slide because I want to show you where we're going to start as far as weights. So, and I'm going to show you some overhead shots too so that you can see. So, looking at this, the first and the largest thread, if you will, is a 12 weight. So it is a thicker thread. It is 100% cotton. It is 2-ply. They recommend, and you may use them in a different way, and if you do, I'd love to hear from what you do, but they recommend, as far as a top stitch needle, 116 or 90-14 top stitch when you're using that 12 weight thread, but also to use a 40 weight thread in your bobbin, which is a thinner thread. So, and if you're using this in your long arm, the recommendation is a 4.5 long arm needle, and use 28 count in the, or 28 weight in your bobbin. Aurifil also offers three types of spools, a really small one, a medium size, which is the one that I primarily use, is the medium one. The small ones I save for when I'm traveling, if I'm doing a small project, etc. And then the big cones, which a lot of you can also use on your regular domestic machines, but long armers like to use those as well. So the 12 weight, here's the thing, you can use this for a lot of different applications. They recommend hand applique, hand embroidery, hand quilting, cross stitch. Although I like cross stitch, I like to use the floss, which we'll get to. You can use it for embellishment. Of course, you can embellish anything with a 12 weight. It's nice and thick. And I'm going to show you after I get this slide, after we go through this slide, I'm going to show you what the 12 weight actually looks like with an overhead shot. Machine applique, blanket stitch, buttonhole stitch, machine embroidery. And I'm not sure. Let me take this off the screen for now so you can see what's there. Machine art quilting, sashiko, red work, lower looper serging, and long arm quilting. So there's lots of varieties and lots of ways you can use this. So let me take this screen off and I'm going to show you. I've got 12 weight here and I've got it in a couple of the spools. And the thing you want to know, that's the wool. Hang on a second, that's wool. I wanted to show you in the smaller spools. But so let me go to the overhead shot here. And let me get that off the screen. So I'm going to take this away because I want to show you that later. But this is super thick, so you can kind of see how thick that is. It's very, very thick. And actually, it might be good if I lay it on here so you can kind of see. So it's a thick thread. Now, you notice that that slide, let me put that slide back up real quick. Because that slide, no, wrong slide, sorry. That slide, where is it? This slide. Okay, let me get rid of this one. That slide is all red. Now the reason why it's red is because, do you see how the spool is red? That's so that you can identify that it's a 12 weight thread. They've cleverly color-coded all their spools, and you'll see that in the, here's another one. This is the small spool. So the small spool is also red, and the large cone would also be red as well. So it'll make it easier for you to select your thread if you have them, you know, set on a thread rack or whatnot. It'll be a lot easier for you to select the weight of thread by identifying the color of the spool itself. So that's, I think, a fantastic way to do it. So this is obviously, this is red, red 12 weight on a red spool, which I have not unwrapped yet. But the 12 weight is nice and thick. It really shows up well, as you can see on, let me pull it this way a little bit, as you can see on the fabric here. It really shows up very well. It's nice and thick, as opposed to, let me just show you real quick. I'm going to pull my regular, let's see, this is here is a 50 weight. This is something that I normally use, 50 weight. So you can see the difference here. So see the difference in how thick it is versus the 50 weight. So that kind of gives you a little bit of gauge as to what you might want to use this for versus the 50 weight. Okay, so let's get the next slide up here and we'll kind of do the same thing. I want to go this way. I'm always, the camera always throws me off which way to go. Okay, so the next slide I have for you is the next weight up, 28 weight. Okay, so 28 weight, as you would suspect, is thinner. So let me grab the 28 weight, and you notice it's a gray spool, right? So again, easy to pull out because it's got a gray spool, and these are kind of like a blue-gray thread. But if you look again at the difference, here's the 12 weight, and here's the 28 weight. Okay, so it's a little thinner than the 12 weight. Little, not much, but it's significant enough, and I think it's just because this one's darker. But for the 28 weight, it's also 100% two-ply cotton, but they recommend a 90-14 stop stitch needle for quilting, or a denim needle, but use 40 or 50 weight thread in your bottom, and a 4.0 long arm needle using 40 or 50 weight in your bobbin. So I should also mention, if you want to screenshot any of these screens, please do so that you have the information, and I'll be showing you a chart too as well. Some of the uses for the 28 weight are double strand cross stitch. So basically, if you haven't done cross stitch, you can, double it up, and you can use that for your cross stitch. For my cross stitch, I actually, like I said, I use the floss and I take it down, I pull one strand out, and then I double it over. But this would be a great alternative. You can use it for a blanket stitch, hand applique, hand piecing, hand quilting, bobbin work and machine, lace making, quilting, machine embroidery, lower loop serging, textured long arm quilting. So it has a variety of uses, and again, it is a cotton and it's 2-ply. Let me just show you. So I don't think I have a 90-40 needle. I actually ran out, but I'll show you the needles in a little bit, rather than confuse the situation. But again, these are available in the 3 different spools again. So it's available in the small spool, the medium spool, and the large cone. And they all have, depending on the weight of the thread, depends on how much yardage is on. So the thicker the thread, there's going to be less yardage on those spools. The thinner the thread, there's going to be more yardage. Just stands to reason that would be the case. Okay, so now let's go. I'm going to put these aside over here so I don't pick them up again, and I'm going to go on to my next slide, which is the next weight up, which is the 40 weight thread, and that is in the green cone, or the green. I'm going to actually move that over here to this side, okay, so that you can see. Let me just pull it down a little bit. So the green, so I have a couple examples here. I'm going to pull this over this way. Oop, I was just getting used to that other one. Okay, so this is the green spool, and it also comes in the tiny spools as well. And these I have not unwrapped, but you can see they come in the tiny spools as well, and the cones. So again, they've identified your weight of thread by the color cone or spool that it is on. So if you want a 40 weight thread, you look for the green. The 40 weight thread is very versatile, and I actually use it a lot for machine applique. I think it gives just the right touch that you need for the machine applique, and I'll show you in a minute. I did this one here with 50 weight, but your 40 weight thread, you should use an 80-12 needle, Microtech Sharp, and I think I have an 80-12 here. This one's a leather one though. This is leather, so it's not going to be. And actually, I put it on mirror image the camera, so you can't read it. But this is leather, but it's an 80-12 needle. They recommend. Here's an 80-12 universal, but they recommend a Microtech, which is a little sharper. But you can use also a universal or denim. I would go with the Microtech only because I work a lot with batiks, and the Microtech needle has a smaller needle, so it'll leave a smaller hole. Or you can use a 90-14 or 70-11 quilting needle. And they also recommend, again, using 40 or 50 weight thread in the bobbin. So you can use the same thread, because this is 40 weight, you can use this in the bobbin, but if you wanted a lighter weight, you could go to the 50 weight. For the long arm needle, a 3.5 or 4 long arm needle, and using 50 weight in your bobbin is what the recommendation. So some of the uses you can see at the bottom here: single, double, or triple strand cross stitch, hand piecing, bobbin and machine lace, machine applique, machine embroidery, edge to edge pantograph, and custom long arm quilting. I use 40. Typically in quilting, when I long arm my quilts, I use either 40 or 50 weight. In fact, I actually have couple of the cones here, and these are orange, and these are, I'm going to show you in a second because these are 50 weight, but I'll use the 50 weight cones. I think I have some 40 weight cones as well. So that's your 40 weight thread. So it has a lot of these have very similar uses, but I think it comes down to a matter of what your preference is as far as the look you want in whatever you're working on. So here's a 50 weight. Now this one is my typical go-to. 50 weight, I think, in my opinion, gives you the best piecing results, okay? I typically piece with, these are my go-to colors for piecing right here. So this is a 2600 and this is the 2000 color. This is, I believe, Dove Gray, and I can't remember what the name of this one is offhand, but these are my go-to piecing colors. You can see that I use this Dove Gray an awful lot. Here are some other colors in the 50 weight, and here it is in the cones, okay? So you can see that I do use them in the cones, and these are actually the same colors as my go-to threads here. But again, they're orange cones and they're orange spools because that identifies that they are 50 weight threads. Now, the 50 weight threads, what I typically use in my sewing machine for the 50 weight threads is I use a 7010 Microtex needle. They're saying 8012 Microtex Sharp or universal quilting or denim, but use 50 weight in the bobbin. So you can use the same thread in the bobbin, which is what I do. 4.0 long arm needle using the 50 weight in the bobbin. I use this thread for a lot of things, not just piecing, but I think this thread here, the 50 weight, is the most versatile of them all because I use it for piecing. It gives you that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance because of the actual thickness of the thread. You can use it for needle turn applique, English paper piecing, hand piecing, bobbin and machine lace, machine applique, straight stitch, zigzag, blind hem, blanket stitch, machine embroidery, dense machine quilting, subtle machine and long arm quilting, basting, whole cloth, micro quilting, dense background designs. So the sky's the limit with this. I want to show you exactly what it looks like, the 50 weight, with the applique here, because this is what I did with my applique. So this is done with the 50 weight thread. So you can see what it looks like in a 50 weight. Now if I used 40 weight or 28 weight or 12 weight for that matter, you'd see these stitches a lot more. They would be more bold, if you will. That's not to say that you can't use anything but a 50 weight. I preferred on this to use the 50 weight just because I like the look to be a little more delicate, if you will. So choose your thread wisely when, for whatever project you're working on. Okay, so now the next slide is the next one up. Okay, so we are doing 80 weight thread here. Now 80 weight, I love the 80 weight. It is still cotton. You're still working with cotton. It is one of the thinnest threads here. So I'm going to show you 80 weight. I didn't take this one out of the spool because it's very fine. You can use this one. This one's great for needle turn, English paper piecing. I actually treated myself. I'm going to show you this. Oh, you're going to love this. So I'm going to take the slide off the screen for a second because I want to show you this. It's like a little quilter's candy box, if you will. So, and I'm sorry, I don't have the thing on so you can read everything. I took it off a mirror image. But anyway, this is like a little candy box. I treated myself to this. This is all 80 weight thread. Is that not gorgeous? 80 weight Aurifil thread. You can see I haven't opened it. It's like I'm coveting this from afar. I will be opening it because I will be getting back into the, I have a grandmother's flower garden that I am going to start working on again. I have about 26 flowers on it, but the 80 weight is a perfect thread for that because it's nice and thin, and you don't see the stitches. And the colors it comes in, let me go put that slide back up. The 80 weight thread, I believe it comes in 86, 88 or 86 colors, I think it says, but it's a lot of different colors that it comes in. So you have, you know, a lot of choices with that. They recommend you using, if you're using it in your machine, a 7010 or 8012 Microtech Sharp or an embroidery needle, and use 80 weight in your bobbin. If you're using it in your machine, you want to use it, you can see it's also on a wooden spool here. So it's not color coded. They do have one other thing we're going to get to that's on a wooden spool as well. But again, like I said, you can use it for English paper piecing, hand applique, machine embroidery, machine applique, free motion quilting, and free motion couching. Anything where you want that thread to blend in and kind of recede away, if you will. So like if you don't want to see the quilting, you just want to see the texture, this is a great thread to use to achieve that result. Okay, so don't you love my little quilter's candy box? I love that. So now the next one is going to be the wool. Now I will be honest, I have not used the wool. The wool is a thick thread, and it is right here. I have a couple small spools. This one is color coded as well. It comes on a red spool, but you can immediately tell it's wool. So remember, this one was the 12 weight and it's red. You can feel and see, and it's hard to see on camera, but you can feel and see that this is wool, and the fact that it actually says wool too. So if you go to grab a spool of red and you're not sure if it's wool, just turn it over and check. It says wool. This does not say wool on it. So, but the wool thread, they are, so this is actually 50% wool, 50% acrylic. So it's not 100% wool. They recommend a 90-14 top stitch needle using 50 weight thread in your bobbin. Use your largest long arm needle possible. And you can use 28 weight in the bobbin when you're on your long arm. 116 needle, use 40 weight in your bobbin. You can get it in these small spools, you can get it in the medium spools, and you can get it in the cones. To use, what they're suggesting uses for the wool is single or double strand cross stitch, hand embroidery, machine applique, machine quilting, and lower loop or serging. So if you're using this for cross stitch or embroidery or something, I think it will give it more of like an antique look or an older feel. And it comes in 192 colors. That is one thing about Aurifil, is that they do offer many colors in all the different threads that they offer. Okay, so now the next one, this is the cotton floss. And yes, I love the cotton floss. And I'm going to take this off because I do have something else to show you. I love the cotton floss. In fact, I love it so much that so I'm sorry you're reading this backwards because I didn't mirror the image. But I actually had a collection. I actually still have some of these left in my shop. It's called Springtime Reflections Thread Collection, and I went with my Feline Fine fabric collection that I had out a few years ago. But these are the floss colors in here, and let me show you how thick the floss is. So this is a floss spool, and again, it comes on a wooden spool. And it does say floss on the bottom and cotton. So your floss is very thick, and it's just like, if you buy floss, the other ones that are on the market, you can take these down to 1 strand, 2 strand. They're easily separatable. If that's a word, I'm thinking that's a word, separatable. But the floss comes on these, so you don't have to actually bobbinize it on those little cardboard bobbins if you don't want to. You can, if you want to keep it straight. If not, you keep it on the spools, which I think is a nice little feature. Now, I want to show you something that I did with the floss. It's right here. So when my Feline Fine fabric collection came out, I had this black background fabric, and you can see I left some of them unstitched. So some of the motifs I had on here, I left them unstitched, but I stitched the other ones with various colors from the fabric line. So like here's the same fabric, but with the yellow background and the magenta color, which you can stitch. And I just took my Aura floss from this collection, and I used, so you can see here are the colors. So there are the colors, and I use those colors all along in here to stitch this, and I made it into a pillow, which is kind of cool. So many things you can do with the floss, and I've recently picked up cross stitch again, and I'm using Aura floss on the cross stitch as well. So I love the Aura floss. It's very, very easy to work with. So that's another thread that you can use. I'm going to throw up, I hope you're taking either notes or like screenshots along the way and getting your questions in there. Now, this is also another one that I have not used, and I actually do not have any samples of this to show you. But this is the 43 100% Egyptian cotton 3-ply. Comes in the cones, as you can see, and there's also monofilament at the bottom as well. A lot of long armors like to use the monofilament, and you can see, you can also use it for hand and needle turn applique. I used to use monofilament, but I mean, I know that there's applications that you could, but I would prefer, my preference is to use color. But you can use monofilament for a lot of different things. So, and I don't have samples of these to show you, so otherwise I would. But let's go to, I want to go to the next slide because this is important, and you might want to take a screenshot of this one. So this one shows you all the different uses for the different weight threads in the Aurifil line. So all the way from the 12 weight, the wool, the cotton, the nylon, all the way up to the 80 weight, and it tells you the different applications that they recommend that you use them for. So it's a really, really, really good chart to have and to use just as reference, to keep as a reference. So you're welcome to take a screenshot of this, and a lot of this information, if you can't find it again, is available on the Aurifil website so that you can seek that out. So if you want to take a screenshot before I go to the next slide, actually let me just push this over a little bit, and we're going to put up another slide right next to it. Okay, so this is another representation of the colors. So you see at the top, the orange is the 50 weight, then you've got the 40 weight in the green, the 28 in the gray, and the 12 weight in the red. So a couple more slides, and then I'm going to just show you a few more things, and then I'll take some questions, okay? I got one more slide. So this is an important slide here. So when you see the bottom of a spool of, let me see if I can move this to the side, although again you're going to see it backwards for me. So when you see the bottom of it, you see all the different writing on, oops, let me get it under the camera. Where am I? There we are. You see all the different writing, and I'm sorry, again, it's not in mirror image, but it tells you the NE is the number English weight measurement, okay? So it's a weight of this one that's on the screen is a 12 ply, okay? Grams per spool, so there's 30 grams, meters per spool, 325 on the one that's on, in the slide here. The color number is 2870, so if you're ever looking for that color again, and it also gives you the dye lot. So if you need to match a dye lot, it has that number for you. On the small spool at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll also see meters per spool, color number, weight, and dye lot. So those are really handy information for you to have on your spool of thread. Now I want to show you a couple other things. Here, I'm going to show you this. So Aurifil also has variegated thread. Isn't that beautiful? So I have some cones of this for long arm quilting. And I also use variegated thread in my domestic sewing machine too. So this one is an Aurifil thread, and it is a, what color is this? This has 3,300 yards. It's a 40 weight thread. Color number 5512, lot number 930. So that is the color of that. They also have, Aurifil also has, that you can get, these beautiful color cards, which show the different colors that they have, and also the variegated that they have. And it shows you also the different weights of threads here as well. And if you're looking for colors, you can always use the color chart and mark off what you have. If you wanted to, it talks about how to wash your thread, etc. Now, a couple other things I want to show you. This is just my little basket of threads. Isn't that fun? I like that. Needles, we were talking about needles. So I have a variety of different needles. Now I have a Viking sewing machine, so I tend to use the Inspira needles on mine. Sometimes the Schmetz don't always work right. I found that for the machines that I have, the Inspira needles are just a little bit longer, and they work better in my machine than the Schmetz. So use what's recommended for your machine, and you're going to get a better result. And use what they recommend as far as the thread too. I'm going to show you a couple other collections too. So I told you that I had a couple collections. So these the ones I'm showing you, I actually still have some in stock. So if you wanted to purchase, this was my splash of color. You can see I've used some of this box. So there's a lot of different colors in here. This is 50 weight thread. There's 10 colors in this box of 50 weight thread, 220 yards each. This was the floss box, and you get 10 spools of the floss at 18 yards each, or 6-strand floss. I also gifted to myself a couple Cafe boxes. This one is 20 spools of 12 weight thread. So this is the thicker thread, but isn't that beautiful? The colors, the range of colors. So that'll get used for some nice embellishment or quilting. This one is 80 weight thread for handwork that I treated myself to, in addition to that big box. This is another one of my collections that I actually still have in stock. So you can get this. Isn't that pretty? These are all the jewel tones. And I try, when I curate the collections, to put variegated threads in. So you'll see some with variegated colors and some with monochromatic variegated, so it's different shades of gray or different shades of pink in this particular collection. So those are a few of my collections. So I'm going to come back to me here for a second. If you have any questions, I'm going to go scroll back and see what questions you all had, and I'll start there. And if you have any questions, type them in, because there is a little bit of a delay for me to see them. So if you have questions, please type them in. Let's see. What does Tila says? It's a candy box. 80 weight is wonderful thread for mini paper piecing, a la Juicy Juice and Allison Glass. That is true. Yes, 80 weight is fabulous, Tila. Absolutely. Let's see. Tila also says, is the white spool for variegated? The white spool, which is, oh, this one here? The white spool? Good question. I don't recall off the top of my head. I think Karen Miller's in here. Karen, this is, I know it's the cone, so it might, I'm not sure. Karen, if you can answer that question, I can't remember if what the white is. Can't be, because, well, no, it can't be. The weight, it's signified by the weight, because here's my variegated in my Blinded by Science. So it's definitely a weight. I don't know why this one is white, but it is an Aurifil. I don't know why that cone is white, but they use maybe it's an older cone, but remember, it goes by the orange is the weight of the thread. So the variegated, if it's a 50 weight, it's going to be orange. If the variegated's thicker, it'll be, the red or the green, etc. So I hope that makes sense. Do we have any other questions? Let me see if I scrolled all the way back. Let's see. Karen, there we go. Actually, the white cone Jackie showed was an older pot. There you go. Karen. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. So thread used for long. So this is an older poly. So it wasn't, it's not cotton. So it's a poly thread for long arming. I'm right in that it's older and they no longer sell poly thread. So there you go. No longer poly thread. So it is an older one. Let's see. Thank you, Karen. I figured I had gotten that earlier, but the variegated thread that you get now is color-coded by the weight. Okay? Let's see, Pamela, question. Let's see, let's make your question a little bigger. The rope bowl you have done, have you done a video on how to make? No, I haven't, but that's a great one. I can, I will put that down, and I absolutely can do a tutorial on that for sure. I had a lot of fun making this little rope bowl. Isn't that cute? But I keep all my little spools in there. And it's great to keep other things like clips and things, as you can see. Let's see, is Karen got enough? Let's see what Karen says here. Karen says, you did a great job, Jack. So enjoyed. Thank you, Karen. If you don't know, Karen, she is, I don't know how to describe her. First of all, she's phenomenal. But she is, she kind of is the head of the oral philosophy program, if you will. She teaches us to teach you. And that's probably the best way to describe it. And she's awesome. So Karen is my direct link to Aurifil. So it's great that she's here watching and chatting along with us. Thank you for being here, Karen. Let's see. Pamela says, please do a rope bowl. Let's see. Laura says, is that big blue box filled with floss thread? Oh, you must have missed that one. So the big blue box, this is the one that I showed. This is the 80 weight thread. I opened it up, and this is the 80 weight thread. That was my little treat to myself for English paper piecing, hand applique, etc. That was my little gift to myself. And it is like a little candy box. So it's just pretty to look at. I almost don't want to use it in a way. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Happy spring to you, Pamela. These colors are all spring-like too, right? So, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all learned something. And if you enjoyed the show today, please share it with your friends. I would love for them to learn a little bit more about thread. If you have any questions, you can continue to put them in the comments. I will definitely answer them. Let's see. Laura, your birthday's coming up in May. Just saying. Are you saying you want one of those boxes too? Anyway, well, listen, I hope you all have a fabulous week this week. Get some quilting and sewing done because I'm going to be doing that the rest of this week. And thank you for joining me. Love you all. Happy spring and happy quilting. Bye.